Okay, in this module, we'll take a little bit of time and study formatting. What exactly is formatting? Well, it's really just cosmetic effects. You're simply going to change the appearance of your cells. By chance, if you're familiar with changing fonts from other applications, say Word or Google Docs or something along those lines, changing fonts is pretty much the exact same thing here in Excel with one major distinction, of which we'll cover later. Right now, let's just jump right in. Let's start by changing the appearance of our fonts. The way we can do that is we can select our text, and then we can go up and click on the drop arrow, and we'll see a whole list of fonts. We can pick and choose the ones we want. If we want to change the font size, we can go right next door and click the drop arrow and choose a number. Larger the number, larger the font, so we can make our choice there. Some good old standbys, which is bold, italic, underline. Those are toggles, so we can make our font bold, italic, or underline, as we said, simply by clicking on them. If we want to change the font color, we can click the drop arrow right here and select the color that we want. If we want to change the cell color, we can click the drop arrow where the paint bucket is and select the color we want to apply. Moving on, if we want to apply a border to our cells, we can select the ones we want, then go up and click on this drop arrow here, choose the border type we want to apply. Next, if we want to change the alignment of our cells, we can use these icons right here and change the position of our text within the cell. Changing gears, if we take a moment and select our numbers, we can change the display by clicking on the dollar sign right here, or click the drop arrow and choose the currency style we wish to apply. If we want to show our numbers separated by commas, we can select our numbers, then go up here and click on the comma icon. If we want to display more or less decimals, we can click the icons right here. So far, so good, nothing too complicated. Let's take a second and talk about this percentage icon, since this is the one that might trip people up. The way the percentage icon works is it will multiply any number by 100, then show the number as a percentage. So if you ever use this in real life, make sure the number that you're using is displayed in decimals first. So here we see our number, it's a decimal. We can click the percent icon and look at that, we're all set. Moving on, we have the option to resize our columns if we wish. Sometimes our text will not fit properly, so we can resize it doing a click and drag. Just make sure that when you go to resize the column, your mouse is a double-headed arrow. Then you can click and drag. The other one you're going to encounter is sometimes a cell will have a bunch of pound signs in it, so you can resize the column to see the numbers. Moving on, just like we can resize a column, we can also resize our rows. If we let our mouse rest over here, we can click and drag to resize the row height if we wish. If you need to add a column or a row to your spreadsheet, you can do that in several ways. The most direct method is you can go up here to the column heading, do a right click and choose Insert. Or on the Home tab, you'll see the Insert icon. You can click that drop arrow and choose Insert Sheet Columns. If we want to add a row, we can right click and choose Insert. Or we can select our row first, then click Insert, Insert Sheet Rows. The choice is yours. Now, let's go one level deeper and talk about how Excel stores data. It all boils down to two simple things. Data is either stored as text or numbers. By default, if Excel recognizes your data as text, it will store it on the left side of the cell. Conversely, if Excel recognizes your data as numbers, it will store it on the right side of the cell. Here's how that could impact us. Sometimes we're working with numbers and we don't want them stored as numbers because we're not going to be doing any calculations on them. Rather, we want them stored as text. An example could be some of the postal codes in the United States begin with zeros, or you may be working with invoice numbers that begin with a leading zero. To illustrate this, let's say we have an invoice number that leads off with 3 zeros. If we try to type in 3 zeros right off the bat, and then follow that with some numbers, when we press enter, you notice the leading zeros disappear. There's a couple ways to solve this, yet the most direct is to change the format type from general to text. We can do that by going up here, clicking on the drop arrow, choosing text. Now, when we type out our leading zeros and press enter, everything's all good. The other way we can accomplish this is to type an apostrophe first, then our numbers with the leading zeros. Okay, so let's talk about custom formatting. Custom formatting really gives you the ability to control the way your content is displayed in the cell. When you first see custom formatting, it may seem a little intimidating, but once you know the pattern, it's really not that bad. The pattern is Excel will format anything with a positive value first, then a negative value, then zero values, and finally text. And the other critical piece of information is each format is separated by semicolons. Let's clarify this by way of example. Let's say we have our numbers here. We have a positive value, a negative value, a zero value, and a text value. And for whatever reason, we decided that we want the positive values in green, the negative in red, our zeros to appear in magenta, and our text to appear in blue. That sounds lovely. Can hardly wait. Now the part that's no fun is whenever you want to apply custom formatting, you have to type it out manually. And the other thing to bear in mind is to recognize there is a whole universe of custom formats that you can apply. The goal here is just to give you a taste of how it works. To create our custom format, let's first select our numbers. Then we'll go up here where it says number and click the arrow. Next, click custom, and here comes the fun part. If we want our positive values, we type this. Our negative values will appear like this. Our zero values will appear this way. And lastly, our text. Click OK, and there we go. All right, admittedly very goofy, very impractical, yet the goal here is just to let you know how custom formatting works. Now, let's take a look at a more practical application. Here we have some numbers, and let's say we don't want to display all these zeros, rather in an abbreviated manner. We can do that by creating a custom format that goes like this. First, we can select our numbers. Then we can launch the number dialog box, go down to where it says custom, and we can type the following: 0, comma, comma, open quote, the letter M, close quote, click OK. And there we go. Check it out. Custom format applied. Another custom format that we can create piggybacks off a previous example. You might recall the percentage icon from earlier. What it will do is multiply the cell content by 100 and then display that result in a percentage. So by chance we are working with a whole number and want it to be displayed as a percent, here's how we can do it. We can launch the formatting dialog box, click down where it says custom, and then type the following: 0, %, symbol, and apply that, and now our number is displayed as a percentage. So before we move on and talk about some of the nuances with formatting, at this point it makes sense to reiterate just how deep custom formatting is. You can spend hours with this stuff. And clearly we don't have the time to cover everything. Rather, the goal was just to get you familiar with how this stuff works. Next, let's talk about the format painter. What exactly is the format painter? It's best understood by way of example. Let's say you applied some formatting, really like it, and you want to apply it somewhere else in your spreadsheet. With the format painter, think paint bucket and paintbrush. To use it, you first want to click on the cell with the formatting that you just created. Think of that as your paint bucket. Then go up and click on the format painter icon, and then all you have to do is just paint or select over different fonts, and then the formatting that you created will be applied. The only downside with the format painter is it's sort of one and done. Meaning once you click and drag over some fonts to apply the new format, it's going to deactivate and go back to regular mode. There's a workaround though. What you can do is double click on the format painter, and what that'll do is keep it active for as long as you want. And then once you're done, press your escape key and you're right back to regular mode. Moving on, sometimes you have data in Excel and you simply don't want others to see it. There's a formatting trick you can do that goes like this. You can select the cells and then go up here and click on the number format dialog box, go down to where it says custom, then right here, type 3 semicolons, and what that will do is hide your data. So that's a cool one you can break out if need be. Okay, so when this module first started, we mentioned that formatting cells in Excel is very much similar to changing fonts in other word processing applications, with one major distinction. And now let's talk about it. The key thing you want to realize with Excel formatting is that formatting is a mask. It will change the display of a cell. But before we delve too far into that concept, let's talk about how to remove cell formatting. If you ever want to clear cell formats, what you want to do is select your cells first, then from the Home tab, choose Clear, Clear Formats. And once those formats are cleared, Excel will show you the true content of the cell. Where most people struggle with this is they may want to delete the content of a cell entirely, so what they'll do is they'll press the delete key. In their minds, they think everything has been deleted. The problem is when they start typing, that original format comes back to haunt them. The reason this is happening is that when you press your delete key, the delete key will remove the cell content, but the format will remain. I know, it's kind of goofy. The big takeaway is this. If you want to delete the cell content but leave the format, simply press your delete key. If you want to remove the format and leave the content, select your cells, then choose Clear, Clear Formats. And the last thing we'll cover with formatting is if you want to clear the cell in its entirety, choose Clear, Clear All. When you choose Clear All, Excel will remove the cell content and the cell format.